What's up, beer seekers? Crew from BeerSighted here, and because it is Massachusetts Beer Week, we are having some of Massachusetts' most influential beer advocates and social media personalities join us to talk about Massachusetts breweries and beer. And tonight we have got Ryan, aka the Boston Beer Guy, to chat with us tonight. Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
So let's dive into a little bit of your background here. Talk to us how you got your start doing what you do and just more of, what you do on a weekly basis.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously Boston Beers, it is an account that I'm running that I do different, content creation in terms of beer posts, beer videos and whatnot. I have a really funny background that I love to tell everybody. So I went to school at Hobart College in upstate New York.
Thanks, yep.
And I was actually on the board of creating a minor called the Entrepreneurial Studies minor. Basically, starting things, which Boston Beers. So I was working with one of the professors that I helped obviously establish the minor with. And he was like, hey, I want to do something in terms of like an independent study. Do you have any cool ideas? And he was like, well, I like beer. And I was like, well, I like beer as well. And we're in the Finger Lakes and there are literally 75 breweries in upstate New York, all across like 2 lakes. So we said, screw it. We're going to go do an independent study. And we named it, just to kind of get around it, we named it like the food and beverage industry of the Finger Lakes. Really what it was is we just went to like 3 or 4 breweries every single Tuesday and Thursday and drank their beer and then rated it on Untapped. And then I created an essay about it and whatnot, but it was cool. So how sort of I got into Instagram was I started posting photos of all the beers that we tried and people were following along with my journey. I was working at a brewery called Climbing Vines, shout out all of them. They were the ones that got me started in craft beer at the time. So, I got introduced to a lot of cool people. I was serving beer. I was really heavily, invested in the community in upstate New York. Graduated college and I ended up actually starting home brewing. I changed the Instagram from my project to actually home brewing in Massachusetts. And then I moved out of, my parents' house, started my first job, and Boston Beers was born. So, overall what I do is I post photos. And then in the midst of the pandemic, I started a new series called Frosty Boy Fridays, where I will have on brewers from different breweries all across New England. We'll rate their beers. We'll talk about the industry. We'll talk about their beers. And that's a little bit about my page and what I'm doing in the community.
So that's kind of like your signature, right? Frosty Boy Fridays is like your recurring series. How do you go about kind of diversifying that on a weekly basis?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much all the same stuff. What I've done is, throughout September through pretty much December, I was reaching out to at least like 3 or 4 breweries a day. I was sending them, my sales pitch about Boston Beers and getting them on. And, we diversified it by, I didn't only have Massachusetts people on. I had everyone from Maine, New Hampshire. I didn't have any Rhode Island people on. It was mostly Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Massachusetts. But yeah, we just, learning more about their brewing style, and each brewer, I asked them the same questions, but it all turned into different areas. So like one guy would talk about, his brewing style in terms of IPAs. And then we talked about the whole milkshake and fruited sour craze. So, that we kind of just like would talk about, different things every single time.
And do you have any breweries we would know or in Massachusetts coming up on Frosty Boys?
Absolutely. So I've done about 30 of them. I've done everything from Vitamin C to my first ever one, which was Aeronaut, to Channel Marker. I've done small ones like Small Change and Gilded Skull, Remnant. Coming up right now, I have Flying Dreams, which is over in Marlborough, and then I have Bentwater coming. Actually, that'll been on already. But yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, to the 12th of March is going to be probably my last one for a bit. Haven't really talked or done much about it right now, but, started a new job, which has been great. Really wanted to focusing on that, but I've sort of depleted my, my resources that I had built up for the last 3 months. So coming up, Frosty Boy Fridays, we're taking a rebranding step. We're going to be, doing a little bit more of outreach that's going to be more targeted. I'm going to reach out to a lot more breweries in the New England area that I've never heard of. And I want to dive into more of the smaller ones, so not the mainstream ones, the ones that maybe just opened, do a little more visits. And then a big thing that I'm looking to do is reoccurring guests. So have some cool planning in the works. So we're taking a little step back from Frosty Boy Fridays, still going to be posting, very frequently the different beers that I drink, but the content creation is probably going to be down probably from March 12th until middle of April to May is when we'll be ramping back up on Frosty Boy Fridays.
Very cool.
It's a lot harder when you have a real job and, that eats up a lot of your time.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I think there's been weeks where I was working a full-time job and it was like back in November and I had one every single day. And I was looking at my list, I think December 1st, I had looked and I had already gone all the way out to middle of February, all booked. Every single Friday, I had a person on there. So I kind of took a step back of reaching out, doing stuff, and then that caught up to me. I now I'm like, well, shit, I have, 2 more left until I'm done. I got to find more people.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm going to take a quick break and realign how we're going to do Frost Boy Fridays. And the next segment, which I think is going to be like reoccurring guest Wednesdays or something, and we're going to get people back on.
Got some breaking news on the old Zoom call.
Yes. And this, honestly, Mass Beer Week is probably going when I'm going to announce it on that Friday is when I'm going to make that announcement. So you're hearing it first. Frosty Boy Friday. The Gold Wave is gonna be a little TBD, going on the back burner for about a month, and then we're gonna rile it back up for the summer and have some great stuff. Maybe even going to actual breweries and do reviews. I don't know. I'm hoping. That's all my hopes. Please. I've never done it before. Would love to do it. I don't know how my iPhone camera is going to make that happen, but we're going to figure it out.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. That's really how we all started, wanting to go to breweries and review them, but this isn't about us. And now we're all here on a Zoom call. So
yeah, exactly.
Right. We made it maybe a month and then it all went to hell. So
yeah,
I know.
Yeah, it really did.
I know.
Ryan, you mentioned that the Finger Lakes have a ton of breweries. I'm wondering how you compare that to the New England region and more specifically Mass in the sense that it seems like you can't go down a highway or down a road in Massachusetts right now without finding a new brewery opening or driving past a sign and being like, oh my God, there's another brewery. I drove past one on the way up to Wachusett Mountain to go skiing last week that was called Bull Spit.
Oh yeah.
Over in Lancaster.
And I was like, I didn't know that was there. And I've driven, it was just, the sign's really nondescript. And it was kind of just one of those things. I feel like Massachusetts is kind of getting to the point where you can find really good breweries kind of everywhere. So I was wondering how it compared to being in an area that did have so many breweries, whereas Massachusetts, I would say, is more like a up and coming hotspot.
Yeah. So, I mean, the really cool thing about the Finger Lakes and specifically Seneca Lake, which is where I went to school, you're not going to find one road in probably anywhere in the United States, maybe in California, if it's a long fucking road, but that is going to have that many breweries on it. I mean, I don't know how many they have now, but this was back in 2016, 2017, where you literally could drive down a road and probably hit 20. And the drive was an hour long, and then you would swoop down by Watkins Glen, and you'd come back up the other side and probably hit another 20 or 30. But the cool thing about it, though, is because there's so much land, all these breweries can open up these massive facilities. Now, there's probably no breweries that when I was there that you could find anywhere else. They weren't distributing. They weren't doing any canned stuff. Whereas Massachusetts, there's a lot of these big box breweries, or there's these small box breweries that are actually distributing. Whereas in upstate New York, they're just these mom and pop breweries that just love making beer. And if it's not a brewery on your right hand side, it's a winery. I think they were known back then in 2017 as the number one winery in the world, or wine country in the world. And you think Napa Valley, well, they actually came out with a thing that the Finger Lakes was on top of Napa Valley, which is funny. But yeah, I mean, I think it compares pretty regularly. But the thing about upstate New York is if you drive any other place outside of the Finger Lakes, you're going to find nothing. You know what I mean? Unless you're driving towards the city and you're seeing there's various, I know that Froth Brewing is outside of the Albany area. but like a lot of these breweries that are in the Finger Lakes, they're just on one strip, and it's wild. It's so
Interesting.
much
So yeah, that's like Massachusetts is kind of spread everywhere, and it's just interesting to me how all these different states and locations, how they tend to pop up with these small breweries, and it's all unique to where they are.
Yeah. And there's so like the biggest news in the Finger Lakes recently is that Other Half opened up their Finger Lakes brewery location in Rochester, and that was big news. That's not technically on the lake, it's outside of the lake, but it's starting to get really popular. There's a lot of people who are up there that love craft beer, and yeah, I think it's growing ever as quickly as the rest of the world.
Yeah, and I know you don't only go to breweries to get your beer, you will get it shipped, you'll do trades. So I know you've had a lot of different beers recently, and I can see you rocking the merch. So I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but given we have Mass Beer Week coming up, what are a couple or a few of your favorite breweries or really Massachusetts beers you've had lately?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. So yes, to answer your question, I do get a lot of beer shipped to me. I hate to be that guy that is that guy. I'm assuming you guys
can't do it any other way now. It's really hard. So
if the Hayes boys are watching this, they're probably going to be real pissed at me because they love to just rip on beer trading. But I do it once in a while. I love it. But Mass Beer Week coming up, Vitamin C. I'm drinking right now their milkshake, or sorry, their Hot Property Milkshake IPA, glass, shirt, whatnot. I love them. I think that their stuff is great. What they're doing is awesome. I love the fact that they are focused on collaborations, whereas a lot of these breweries will brew their own stuff, which is great. And, Vitamin C does it. And when I had Dino on the show, we talked a lot about their reasoning why they want to do collaborations. It's because it's a better way to learn. You learn different tricks in the trades and whatnot. And, they were telling me that they've done collaborations with like New Zealand hop companies and like tripping animals down in Florida. They were doing so, like, they're very like multicultural with all the stuff they're doing, and I just am such a big fan of collaboration. So Widowmaker's collaboration with Brockton Beer, I heard, was incredible. Like what they're doing for getting other people's name out there, I think is really cool. So Vitamin C Brewing is probably one of my favorites. Locally in the Somerville area, Small Change, Mike from Small Change, he's been such a cool mentor for myself in terms of my own brewing. And then Charlie Cummings over at Remnant has also been such a cool dude. And because of that, like, I've had such a good time at their breweries. So, I would say like any one of Vitamin C's beers are probably one of my favorites. The Hang Time over at Remnant is one of my favorites. And then the brand new one that Small Changes came out, and I'm totally blanking. I think it's called like Skyline, their New England IPA. Those I'm rocking those beers pretty frequently, which has been great.
Really cool. And you're certainly not alone on Vitamin C. I mean, I know they've been featured in articles. A couple of years ago, they were named one of the best upcoming breweries, and I'm pretty sure
top 10 right now. They're fighting to try to see if they can get one of the top 10 beer labels from USA Today, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Go vote.
That's awesome. And I living in Massachusetts, I have not yet been to Vitamin C, and so that is. I talked about it back on New Year's when we did our year-end wrap-up, that is like the number one brewery on my list right now that I'm trying to visit, and I am just dying to get it. And I knew
you gotta wait till the tap room's open though, because I've never been to the tap room. I just found out about Vitamin C about like 3 months ago. The day that tap room is open, my roommates and I are already on the first car down there. You gotta definitely go to get the beer, but the tap room is supposed to be awesome.
See, that's the thing too. There's probably a giant waiting list where you actually have to go and sign up or something to get in there. That's how legit it is.
Yeah.
But so let's talk a little bit more about Mass Beer Week that you already mentioned, and what do you have coming up? What do you got going on for Mass Beer Week this year? I know it's a little different too because obviously of everything that's going on. So it's probably plans have shifted a little bit.
Yeah. So I got a few things going on. Every single day, I'm going to try to post a new beer that's in Massachusetts. I'm going to go out, Proof Somerville. Shout out Proof. They always hook me up with the best stuff. I'm going to go there, get some beers from Mass Beer Week. I honestly am going to be fully, transparent here. I haven't really done much. Again, starting with a new job and working with a lot of other things that have been going on in my life. Yeah. I have not been really like, my head has been on a swivel. So I'm going to be working on a few things with Proof Somerville. I'm going to see if they want to do some stuff with me as well, posting a beer every day. And then I think I might try to have someone on a Wednesday live stream. See, I mean, there's a good chance that someone from, I'm not going to obviously name names, but I got a few people that I've been talking to about coming on and doing a reoccurring Frosted by Friday. So we may launch that first ever episode on that Wednesday. Friday, the 12th of March, I have on Amory's Tomb. They are like the classic Mass Beer Week people. He is just so down to earth, loves talking beers. He does a lot of like really interesting stuff with like farmhouse ales and like very wild yeast that he works with. So really interesting guy that I'm having on. But yeah, just give you a lot of like posting up beers, supporting all the local places, shopping local. And hopefully we'll have like 2 live things go on Wednesday, and then Friday will be obviously just a pre-recorded video that we've had on, but maybe a little reoccurring guest on that Wednesday. Gotta send out a few texts to see what we can get going on, but have a few things in mind. We, recording this right now, we got a few weeks and we're going to figure it out.
Yeah. I'm a town over from Maynard, so I'll certainly be tuning into that.
Where are you?
In Hudson.
Oh, I'm from Acton, funny enough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've talked about that. Yeah. But yeah, Maynard at Amory's Tomb, he does some crazy stuff and it's really good.
Very cool. Very cool.
I'm curious, Ryan, since you seem to like know some of the unheralded breweries in Mass, are there any specific ones that you would say that during Mass Beer Week or anywhere that people really should get to if they haven't been? Something smaller, something that you can't just drive down the street and get, like you actually have to go to them and get?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I always support small businesses. A big portion of my new position, my new job is supporting local businesses. So Amory's Tomb's a big one. In Acton, Massachusetts, there are a few places that have opened up as well. Smaller ones, Lost Shoe, those guys are great. I know you guys have talked with them. They're awesome. Tackle Box is brand new. Yep. Definitely support those guys. They're growing. There's just like a lot of places that I just really enjoy. And my suggestion is go to places you can never get their beers from. Lost Shoe, you got to actually drive there to get their beers. Right. Amory's Tomb, you can only get it in the radius of Maynard, Massachusetts. Bullspit, great brewery as well. That would be awesome it's anything that I would consider to be a really good for Mass Beer Week is someone that's small, someone that you can't find their beers and they're just, have a local community around them. I think would be Ground Effect in Hudson. I would definitely suggest going there. That place is
big fan.
Absolutely incredible. They got some great beers.
Yeah.
We got a biased member over there.
But yeah, I'm a little biased.
Yeah.
I love them.
I am too. I like going over there a lot. There's actually one brewery that I do want to mention, Bolton Valley Brewing. They're a part of Neshoba Winery. Those guys are great up there. They got some great beers. You can't buy them anywhere else, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, any place that you can't buy beer, I would suggest going and supporting them during next week.
Yeah, Bolton's always a good one too, because if you're with someone who doesn't like beer, you have an excuse.
You got wine. Yeah.
Always thinking.
always ahead of the curve.
There you go. But that's a great sentiment, though. Go out, support your local breweries however you can. That's a great thing.
And liquor stores.
And liquor stores. Great message for Massachusetts Beer Week. So last thing from me, I'm curious, and this is probably a pointed question where I think I know the answer to this, but Massachusetts beer, put it up there in terms of rank. I know it's kind of hard because can't really get to many places right now, but where do you think Massachusetts beer ranks out of anywhere in the country?
That's tough. I would consider Massachusetts beer obviously like within New England because they all make the same beers. I would put it at the top. I'm from Massachusetts, born and raised in Massachusetts, live in Massachusetts now. They're doing something different. I think that Massachusetts has definitely, really done a good job with New England IPAs and basically making it a statement that New England, specifically Massachusetts, has done it. But, there are so many breweries popping up in New England, the area. Again, I would put it up at the top. I am honestly if you gave me a New England IPA and a West Coast IPA, I'm going to take the West Coast IPA and I'm going to punt it down the street. I'm going to drink the New England IPA. Again, that is no offense to any.
For a minute. I thought you
I
were
know.
going somewhere else.
That is not where I thought
that
it was
is
going.
that is no shot to West Coast IPAs or at all. I really do love any brewery and what they're doing and their beers and whatnot. But I started drinking about a few years ago, give or take, college and whatnot. I started drinking about in like 2017, 2016, legally, craft wise. And I think I'm so like privileged to the fact that like I grew up drinking New England styled IPAs. I never had to go with the traditional IPAs that are piney, that are just so packed with hops. Like I am, again, privileged with these juice bombs that are so good. And I feel like that sometimes I have to put myself back in the shoes of like my dad who, was drinking Budweisers until I literally said, "Hey Dad, you need to try this beer." And he was like, "Oh, IPAs, those are tough. I can't drink those." And I'm like, no. Like, trust me, they're changing the game right now. So I would definitely say Massachusetts is up there to one of the tops. I'm not going to obviously put that up there because, Colorado and Oregon and Washington and California, every single state has something that they're doing well. But New England is the only place I've found that can really make a great New England IPA. And I think that's a great standard. But not only that, we also have all the other beers that you're brewing as well. The sours, the porters, the stouts, the pilsners, everyone's doing everything. So I don't really think this is a rank, but I generally am biased because I live here.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I totally agree. And whatever you're looking for, you can find it in Massachusetts, 100%.
Yeah. And most breweries that you go to, if you don't have a person who likes beer, there's usually a sour on tap that's pretty good. Or if you have someone that wants specifically, a stout, most places have that.
Yep, absolutely. Ryan, before we get you out of here, tell us where everyone can find you and they can go check out all your stuff.
Yeah, so you can check me out on Instagram at Boston_beers. I'm also that on Twitter and on Facebook and on Untapped. You can find me there. You can also find me on Spotify, YouTube. You can find me on the BBB podcast where I post all my Frosty Boy Fridays. But if you want to see my beers and all the content I put up, it's mostly Instagram. Oh, and I'm on TikTok as well. I have to be.
There you go.
That's what you got to do.
Getting the new beer drinkers.
Yeah, right.
That's right. There you go, beer seekers. Ryan, aka the Boston Beer Guy. Check him out on Instagram across all social media platforms. Make sure to check us out online too, BeerSighted.com. Follow us on social media at BeerSightedPod, and go to YouTube and subscribe to all of our other video content. Guys, Ryan, thank you so much for taking time to join us tonight. Cheers.
Cheers. Appreciate it, guys.